This is my Pelpro 30. This is the third year I've had it, and I haven't had any problems with it at all. So I wanted to show you basically what I do on a daily basis. I start out with a cool stove, first of all. I shut it off and let it cool down a little bit. Then I get my gloves out because my hands are going to get dirty. And I don't like them getting too dirty, but this is a dirty job. You got to expect that. If you're going to have a wood stove or a pellet stove, you're going to have to deal with ashes. And that's just the way it is. So I open it up, and for this demonstration, for this video, I did put a light inside of it so you could see it a little better. You can see the ashes down there in the burn pot and on the sides and on the back baffles. The stove has baffles, which I take out once a month and clean. Not a fun job. And as you can see, there's quite a bit of ashes right there laying on that insulator. That's another thing I try to get right away once I get going on this. I hit that door first. I don't clean the glass first, but I do try to get the ashes off first, as you'll see in a minute. You can see that tool that comes with the stove, and it's made to fit in the burn box perfectly. It gets into all the corners and the sides of it, and even the holes, the air holes. The end of it will clear the air holes. So sometimes I scrape it out like this, like you see I'm doing now, before I take the burn box out. And you could actually not take the burn box out if you wanted to. You could just scrape a little bit and vacuum it out. I've done it a couple of times, but usually you see I take it out. I scrape it first a little, I take it out, and I use the aluminum cake pan to put it on, in just case there's some hot embers still left inside of it. And then that's where I do all my scraping at, in that cake pan. I try to get it done as close to perfect as I can. It's a lot of work. I mean, I don't shoot for perfection, but I do try to get it pretty clean, because I figure if I don't, it's going to build up over time. And you can see where I'm scraping right there. It actually gets from the pellets is a type of glass that melts onto that, and after a while it gets to be impossible to get off of there. So I try my best to keep up with making sure it doesn't get all built up with that material. This is something I do every day. Sometimes I do it twice a day. But if I'm using the stove at all, I do it at least once a day. If I'm using the stove at a high level of heat, I usually do it twice a day, like once in the morning and once before I go to bed at night, so I can run it all night long and not worry about it. One of my main concerns is that the holes that the air comes through to feed the flame might get blocked up if I neglect this for very long, and then I don't know what would happen then, but I'm pretty sure it's not something nice. Now that's what it looks like after I scraped the box, and you could see inside there was still a lot of ashes in the stove itself. The main place you want to get the ashes out of is this here burn box. Not sure if that's the right terminology for it, but that's where you really need to clean the most and really stay on top of that. Once I've gotten this far, I grab the vacuum and I vacuum out the burn box just to get the little pieces out, and then I vacuum out the inside of the stove and get as much dust and ash out of there as I can. and pellets that may have bounced out of the burn box onto the sides. Try to get those out of there too. There's no sense leaving them in there. Sometimes I take a few of those if there's several of them in there, and I'll put them back in the burn box when I put it all back together. As you can see, I do the floor too nearby. This whole area around the stove does get kind of dirty, but that's to be expected. You can see this is after I vacuumed it. You can see I missed a pellet down there. Not a big deal, but it's fairly clean, and that's just the spot, the place where this burn box goes back into. But I try to get it all. I try to get it fairly as clean as I can with the vacuum inside there. There's a few little pellets right there outside of it, as you can see. I'll get those and throw them back in the burn box once I reinstall it. The box is fairly simple, straightforward to deal with. It only has two pieces, and the tricky thing is one part can go either way. It can fit two different ways. So if you put it back together and it doesn't seem to want to fit in there, also that hole right there is supposed to line up with that, which is your igniter. That's very important that that goes towards the back. As you can see how I'm doing that. Now if I had trouble putting this in, that would mean that I didn't put the two pieces together right. So if you have trouble like that, just flip them around the other way and they'll fit right in there. You can see how dirty this door is. It's really dirty. Some of that is caused from the pellets that I'm using. I'm not using high grade pellets, and you end up with more ash, and also you'll end up having to clean the glass more. It's highly suggested you keep the glass as clean as you can, because the ashes and the heat, chemicals that come out of the smoke will eat, it basically etches the glass, so you would end up with a frosted glass that will not help with heat transfer. I just use a basic low grade window cleaner for the glass itself. I've heard of some people use water, some people use a dry rag. There's a lot of things you can use. It is a window, it's glass, so there's a lot of different ways you can clean it. This way works good for me, and gets the glass nice and clean. Doesn't stay real clean for long once the stove is running, but for a little while it's nice to have it clean and to look into the flame inside the stove. I usually try to do a pretty good job with the glass too. As you'll see, that's probably the third time I've washed it right there, just in this one cleaning. Looks like a whole different thing when it's clean. That light you see me take out of there just now is a light that I put in every time I clean it, just to help me see what I'm doing. Here's a few little pellets I found laying around. I just throw them back in the pot. And that's basically all there is to it. You do that every day and you won't have any problems. There's other maintenance that you'll do. I'll show you one on the baffle. I'll do a video on the baffles shortly.